Welcome to today's Otissa and Company. I have a special guest, Adrian Harper. Adrian is the CEO of Cloud 77, an IT services and solutions organization right here in Woodland Hills. And I am very excited to talk to him. He is also one of my advisory clients. So this should be fun. So you ready, Adrian?
Absolutely. I'm ready.
Awesome. So I will start out by just saying if there's anything else before I kind of go into questions that you want to share with the audience about your business. Let me just ask my first question. So I said Cloud 77 has been solving technology problems for businesses since 2010. So you're definitely not new to this. You're true to this. And I want you to walk us through who you are and what you built
Who I
there.
am for a bit. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that kind introduction. I should hire you to do my introductions as well to
That'd be
make this
good.
official. I know. Well, Cloud 77 was started by a dear friend of mine and co-founder, Tony Wen. We started off with cloud backups as our primary focus, something that we wanted to do on an ongoing basis. We found like, hey, we want to do something entrepreneurial. We want to kind of fit into the market. And so we thought cloud backups would be a great way to do it. But, around that same time, a lot of big players were starting to come into the market. It was right before iCloud itself came about with the online
Mhm.
storage.
Uh-huh.
But, other vendors like Mozy and Carbonite were just really starting to blow up. And so we found ourselves underpriced and under leveraged in the market. So we started off, said, hey, what do we have? We have our hands on our feet and we have our brains, that experience, that expertise that we've been doing for so long, both of us. So we started a company, we built it up, got clients locally throughout Thousand Oaks, all the way
Mhm.
down to maybe say Santa Monica, all the way to Glendale, up to Santa Clarita. So we kind of formed this little, call it diamond slash triangle of area that we covered over the
Mhm.
years, and our relationships with customers and companies throughout the San Fernando Valley, greater Los Angeles area has just been expanding over time. Over During that period, we also found ourselves involved, engaged in doing other services. So not just the typical network, firewall, server type thing that we
Mhm.
find for most offices, but as a company, we ourselves were using, if you're familiar with it, remote services. So but when COVID hit,
Mhm.
it didn't really change any of our operations.
Right.
We
Mhm,
had
mhm.
people in Minnesota, people in Georgia, people
Yeah.
across the country, people across the world already working with us. So it was just kind of, I think we're
Yeah.
closed out in the office and we just continued virtual. Throughout all of that experience, we were able to add additional services. We've done some app development, web development. Pretty much, we've become this one-stop shop for technology solutions for
Mhm.
small businesses in the office, and professional space as well too. So we've done work for corporations like Amgen, subcontracted in and that projects for them in their identity
Mhm.
management group, enterprise services, all the way to small home offices and residential users as well. So pretty broad scope, but one niche that I would say that kind of differentiates us, or what we tend to focus on, is building those customer relationships and adding a management layer.
Yeah.
Not just
Mhm.
managed services providers, but
Yeah.
we want to be like a CTO, a trusted partner
Mhm.
slash
Yeah.
advisor in a technology space for entrepreneurs and business owners.
I love that. And that remote CTO, I've worked with the enterprise level CTOs, and to be able to have that for all size businesses, mid to small size businesses and solopreneurs is really a great service to provide. And your team does a really great job. I have met his team. I've been able to work with his team, and he's got a
So
really
proud of
great group of folks working with him. Tell me a little bit. So you're the person other businesses call when technology isn't working, which I know is a lot of pressure.
a lot of
At what point did you look at your own operations and realize something needed to shift? So you talked about you've been in business for 16 years. That's
Mhm.
a really long time, and you've seen ebbs and flows through different economies, different administrations, different needs, service needs for your
Mhm.
customer. I think there's always the doctor that is helping everyone else, right? But then is the one that like is not so much on focused on self. So self starts to like, oh yeah, I need that too. So tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about for you, at
Yes.
what point did you feel like, especially in your operations, that is where we met
We
through
met.
our dear
Yes.
Greg over at the Valley Economic
Shout out to
Alliance
Greg. Shout out to Greg.
connecting us. Tell me what you thought at that point in time. I remember that first conversation, but
Yes.
you share.
Yes. Where I kinda just poured out my heart to you and just cried it cried on Microsoft Teams
I
to
love that.
my cares and my pains. Yeah, but so my lovely wife Hilda above me passed in June. And so
I'm
prior
sorry.
to our marriage, I was pretty comfortable. I had my small business. I had a few people that were working with me, but it wasn't a mission. It was just kind of like, okay, I'm comfortable. My life relatively, I'm doing well as an entrepreneur, but now I want to grow and scale my business.
Mhm.
When it's me and I can take care of my bookkeeper, myself, and the few people that were working with me, that was one thing. But now it's like, I want to play with the big boys. I want to grow the
Mhm.
company. I want to expand it. I want to take care of my lovely wife. Sadly, I
Mhm.
didn't get that privilege and opportunity to retire her, which was my mission and
Mhm.
one of the main driving forces behind me starting to grow and accelerate the business to another level. So I realized I needed to work with people who are seasoned in the enterprise space, people who are professionals, because that's where my eyes are set, is building a big company that has a massive impact. And part of our company's mission and vision is to transform the way business is done. We want to make it more personal, relational, engaging, and not just the kind of cold, stiff corporate environment that we find
Yeah.
so often. You know what I mean? For me, that's a big part of it. Bringing the small business to the corporate streets, so to speak.
Yeah. I love that. And I think just our interactions and that conversation was really good. It was very insightful. But I also think that it is something that a lot of small company or small businesses leaders go through, right? You're wearing a lot of hats. You're wearing a lot of hats. Life things happen. And it's really more intense because you're wearing so many hats and you can't find a way to kind of break away and deal with those really important things that are happening. And so I think our conversation really just culminated that you were going through your healing process. But in addition to that, you were really trying to bring your business into this new vision that you have for bringing it to the masses and going beyond your current footprint and making it something bigger than it is. So it was a really great conversation to be able to understand your vision, to be able to understand, who your team was and how they were currently operating. But in addition to that, to understand where you wanted to go and what steps were necessary in order to get there. So I appreciate you bringing me into the world of, Cloud 77 through those first conversations and all of the subsequent ones that we've had. I'll
Thank you.
start out by
Appreciate it.
saying that. Excuse me, my voice is a little hoarse here. So, when you started exploring about AI, so we had some conversations a little bit about AI, but when you started to explore about how AI could play a role in Cloud 77, what was that conversation like internally? Was it excitement? Was it resistance or both? The reason that I ask is because my business is all about operations and optimizing them. And I think that so many folks in your seat, you want the efficiencies, but then there's a little bit of hesitancy. Like, I'm not sure in what parts of the business, as well as I want to make sure that it doesn't disrupt too much the things that we're already really good at and making a living off of. So tell people a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So yes, prior to kind of coming back after a 2 year hiatus due to some health issues and with this mission and vision to rebuild the business, I had been in a cocoon for about, as I said, 2 years, kind of isolated from the world. I guess in a certain sense, it was like my Steve Jobs moment of kind of going to India or wherever he went to and then coming back. For me, it was kind of like I'm locked up and in a coming back out of a depressed state. And it's like I'm on a mission. On a vision to go ahead and grow. And then here it is, this thing called AI had become so popular. And it was like, it's kind of like somebody that comes out of prison, and maybe in a movie, and they're like, there's all of this tech, there's Uber, there's Lyft. They're like, what's Lyft? What's Uber? I'm like, this AI thing, something I
Mhm.
studied in college like 20 some years ago, but now
Yeah.
here it is like a real thing, not just something I studied about neural networks and whatnot, like all the way back
Mhm.
then. Now it's a reality. And I signed up for some marketing course, and the lady was like, how to use AI to like maximize your market. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And
Yeah.
so I said, okay, let me, let me get a grip on this thing. But being somebody that supports not just large companies, but celebrities and people who are very mindful attorneys, there's
Mhm.
the dichotomy, maximize their productivity and ability to multiply and scale their ability to serve their customers. At the same
Mhm.
time, there's a fundamental essential of security and privacy, especially when dealing with confidential information. So
Yeah.
internally within my company, we deal with that. And then externally, so it was, so to your answer your question, there was indeed this dichotomy between, yes, how exciting we can advance our business, but we also need to be mindful of how are we entering into that space? Are we doing it wisely? Or are we just kind of coming in guns a
Yeah.
blazing, not necessarily prepared? And so having that conversation with you about our operations and seeing how we can build it, especially with our vision this year of
Mhm.
clarity. So clarity is one of our main things, our theme word in our
Mhm.
company this year, but also being able to mindfully integrate AI into our operation. So thanks again to Greg. Got connected with you. Really appreciate. I mean, one of the things that really makes you stand out, Otissa, is that as soon as I shared my story with you, I think there was already an email in my inbox like Sunday, like you are already on it. You're on top of things. It really differentiates you as a professional in the industry because you are on top of things and you're on top of your game. I have to give you that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So what you just said and talking about like your customers and what their concerns are when it comes to technology
Mhm.
is universal, right? I mean, I think everyone, and it could be maybe it felt like it was thrusted upon us. And then all of a sudden, it's like a snowball, right?
Yes.
It's like all of a sudden, kind of you coming, all the
Mhm.
things in your business and just seeing this thing like literally gain momentum. And I'll never forget when I was first introduced to it. I have a college age son, and he was
Mhm.
like, "Mom, you got to check this out." And I was a little skeptical, but he's like, "No,
Mhm.
I'm telling you, you have to check this out." And I was like, "Okay, let me." He's insistent. Let me try it, and I went down a rabbit hole. Like
Mm.
personally, like, oh my goodness,
Good.
just couldn't
Love
believe,
it.
what I was
Decorating, huh?
asking it and how. So I understand not
Mhm.
everybody has experienced it in that way, but
Mhm.
in addition to that, then taking it into my business journey and
Yes.
allowing it to help me to automate some things and to even be sometimes a thinking partner for me. Now, I do always say to people that I
Mhm.
believe that you have to have some human knowledge in
Exactly.
order to really leverage it. You need to
Absolutely.
be strategic, you need to think
Yes.
critically. It doesn't
Yes.
always hit the
Yes.
mark, but it sounds so convincing that you think it is. And so I understand that skepticism is my point. I understand that skepticism. And this is also at Bravuraa, I'm always talking about solving the human problem first and then augmenting with the right piece of technology. I'm not just trying to throw technology or AI or this tool or that tool will do it. It's like, no, what were we actually trying to figure out? Let's really break down because that is what to me brings about lasting foundation for scaling. Because if you
Absolutely.
don't fix those things, then it's like, yeah, you just get bigger and you get more broken.
Yes. Bigger problems multiplied larger, right? Yeah. You skip your
Exactly.
problems as
Exactly.
well as your successes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Skills headaches. I
more
like that.
headaches,
Yeah.
more headaches.
Mm.
So, but I love that. So I think just as what I wanna say to the audience is you're not alone in being skeptical. Like, we're all skeptical of it. I mean, there's varying degrees of trust as you
Absolutely.
use and you have actually real outcomes and real, benefits, right, to your business,
Mhm.
to what you're
Mhm.
doing. I never say use
Mhm.
it as a therapist, but I'm just gonna say business because that's the frame that we're using it in.
Absolutely.
But I
Absolutely.
definitely think that as you see those outcomes, you do become more of like, "Huh, maybe this could actually save me some time." And once you start to do that, it gets better.
I agree. I agree. I agree. Within my own business, one of the things that I've tried to do is leverage AI still more on the prompt level, even though we are testing and we are using prototyping like the Claude GPT type thing.
Yeah.
So we're doing the agentic analysis of things, but we
Mhm.
haven't just kind of, we're just in the testing phase right now. Philosophically, part of what the reason why we're doing it is just, again, because we want to make sure that, and I'm sure we can, you will have more to say on it, than probably even I would. In a certain sense, it's kind of like, how do you contain it? How do you make sure that the confidential information in there is secure? So privacy and confidentiality is probably the biggest thing, especially for certain areas. But the way we've been doing it is kind of like looking at the marketing aspect of
Mhm.
things first, and maybe like some basic documents in terms of like formatting those, templating those, and filling in proposals and projects, things like that. As we go along, and for us, as the trust level grows to, but in terms of time optimization, productivity of core like day-to-day basic tasks, we'll
Yeah.
start gradually introduce it in as well.
Yeah. Well, and I think you said it, right? Your education, is I think you said MBA in entrepreneurship. And so leveraging the tool as a tool is a smart thing. forgetting about the basic foundation of business is not a smart thing. Right? But so many people are doing that. And it's like, nope, hold up.
Mm,
And then you also mentioned just the security part. I was on a conversation, I think just yesterday, and we were talking about compliance and security for AI tools and some shifts that are happening right now that are very alarming to a lot of folks that have used these tools. But then also understanding, okay, well, is the enterprise actually the key? Is it just to upping your subscription, and is that going to cover you, right?
mhm,
People
mhm,
are needing to know and feel
mm,
secure in that. And I think sometimes we have an answer, and then sometimes we're still on the fence about whether or
absolutely,
not as things are evolving. So I think that with that being said, I do think you should be cautious, but cautiously optimistic, right?
absolutely,
Like, I mean, be cautious because it's the smart thing to do, but the critical thinking part of you, like, maybe you shouldn't be putting that thing in there. And if it's not an
right.
enterprise solution, then
Yeah.
definitely, probably should.
Agreed.
Certain
Agreed.
things.
To your point, even though there's kind of like some different benefits and features for different AIs, and in terms of like their different models and whatnot. But one of the things we've done, kind of like you said, enterprise typically will steer between, say, Google Workspace
Hmm.
or Microsoft 365. In house, we've historically been a Microsoft shop. No
Hmm.
offense to anyone who's a Google Workspace user. We do work on both. We support both. But as a Microsoft certified partner, what we tend to do is, so we'll use a Copilot. We know that for different things, there's different products that may be more robust, or if you want to have a certain thing done, you do it a certain way. But depending on the tool and the product, but for us, in terms of containing it into a more closed environment, that we know that Google, they can separate those tenants, your infrastructure, into a private
Yeah.
kind of
Hmm.
ecosystem. Same thing for us. So we may not necessarily be able to get all of the raw power that's out there with some of the other tools just
Hmm.
yet, but at least for now, we know that some of these bigger players have a lot of experience and expertise in containing that information into closed environments. So that's one
Yeah.
of the ways that we try and.
Well, I love it because you're a trusted advisor, Adrian. You and your team, you guys are trusted advisor to all of your clients, and they're looking to you to, help them to guide through, this new era of technology. They're like, okay, are you using it? Do you think it's good? You know what I mean? And so,
Absolutely.
as you evaluate and are cautiously optimistic about your next steps, even for your own business, you'll be able to, in my opinion, be a stronger advocate for your clients, right? You'll be able
Absolutely.
to really guide them with your technical ability as well as how you and your team implement different solutions for your clients. So, I mean, I think that's a win-win for your clients and something to definitely promote more. Although
Absolutely.
for them, because I think that's one of the things that they are all looking for. If they've already contracted you, then you might as well
Yeah.
continue on that message. So I got another one for you. What
Okay.
does AI actually do in your business today that a person used to do, and how did you decide to hand it over? So you talked about a few areas in which you guys are testing it. You talked about formatting different things, creating some forms, marketing. Expand a little bit on that.
Sure. So we are one of the probably easiest and kind of most direct ways where we're leveraging AI to save time. Though we haven't completely made it fully like agentic in the sense of just handed it off 100%. There's still supervision around it.
Yeah.
Is when it comes to like our reporting for our customers.
Mhm.
So what we would typically do is spend quite a few hours with whatever work that's been done over the last month or over the last quarter for our clients, which includes some recommendations on what they
Mhm.
should next. As we're going along and doing the work, we try and make suggestions on how maybe they can streamline, optimize, improve, maximize what they have, or add or remove certain things to make things work better.
Mhm.
So we would spend quite a bit of time putting these reports together to let the customers know, hey, we
Mhm.
recommend you do this, this, and this. We're able to cut that time down in terms of extracting the information from the actual technician's notes and summaries,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
compile that information and generate that report a lot more quickly, and then communicate those things to our customers. So it's one of those areas where it's still kind of like we've shifted it from from an individual kind of sitting there, pulling
Yeah.
out all of the notes, analyzing it and processing it, to just kind of
Mhm.
like, here's the data, produce produce us a report and generate that. And then it creates opportunities for us to more quickly have those conversations on a strategic
Mhm.
level with the client, to give them advice on how they can leverage technology in a more efficient way.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that. I love that. something that as you were talking about that, I was thinking like what you're doing and by testing it in this way, really you're not just handing over the keys to these tools. Like, and and to be honest, even though I deal with the technology and I use a lot of different AI tools, I'm not ready for that either. Like, I understand it in application and I think where it makes sense, but it's
Mhm.
not necessarily company wide. I think you need to be strategic with your approach and you need to
Yes,
test it and make sure that it stays within the guardrails that you have set for it. And
agree.
if it can that on an ongoing basis, you know what I mean, after you tested it, then you try it in another area, but definitely not just carte blanche, for all the things. And
Mhm.
pros
Mm,
and cons, right? Pros and
agreed.
cons to how I think definitely for the small business owner and solopreneurs, yeah, sure. It makes sense to kind of help them to do some things, but I still think the human in the loop or human touch, it cannot be underestimated.
Agree.
We still are in the early stages and we
Yeah.
still desperately need to make sure that there's some human intervention in the outputs that are
Yeah.
being created. And, your prompt can be amazing. It still needs someone to kind of go over it and make sure that it's delivering a way that you want it to be delivering. So,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
one point to what you're saying. I was, I had a conversation with someone a while back, and we're talking about how we anticipated we'll be kind of working from a uh day-to-day standpoint. One of the things that we came up with was that there's going to be so much AI as the space kind of expands,
Yeah.
but there must be that layer of analysis, supervision, and monitoring, especially in a business level, even whether you have the executives, the boards, the
Mhm,
leadership that are kind of like still creating the vision and the directive that the company moves
mhm,
forward. There's still got to be that level of supervision or management over the AI to make sure that whatever it is that we're using this technology to maximize is really effectively doing what we want it to do, so we can report that back to
mhm.
executive leadership, directors, board of directors, to ensure that that technology is doing what it's supposed to do. Otherwise, the AI is itself reporting on itself. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
And
Oh, yeah,
everything's all good.
did an amazing job, right?
No
Yeah,
issues here.
right. Yeah, it's great. Just go back and don't mind your own business. So,
Exactly, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I totally agree. I was, laughing also because I remember someone saying AI is like it wants to please you, and
Mhm.
so it's gonna say everything very flattering, very
Right.
complimentary, like,
Great.
unless you train it,
Train
right?
it,
And so I
layer
say to
it.
people, I'm like, "You have to train it," and all the
Yes.
attributes of, like, this
Yes.
human communication that we wanna have,
Absolutely.
right? It's like you're asking the tool to give you all these different recommendations, but not think like a person because it's
Mhm.
just pretty much patterns and numbers and that's
Yeah.
what it's doing and what's expected. Like normally, if you ask for a burger, you're gonna ask for French fries. If you, you know what I mean, if you ask for salt, you're gonna ask for pepper. So it's thinking in terms of that's an
Mm.
oversimplification, but
Yeah.
you understand I'm like literally it just is like, oh, this is what you would want next. And you you know what I mean? And so it's serving it up in that way. And I've seen some extremely elaborate prompts that have
Mhm.
created some amazing things, especially when it comes to vibe coding and different things like that. And it is impressive. It is very
It is
impressive. I
very much
mean,
so.
to be able to come from just a plain English input to an actual prototype of, something very simple that you could be like, "Oh my goodness, I could see how this could grow." I get the appeal. Like, and all the buzz around us, I get the appeal and the why people want to, but I definitely don't lose your shirt on it and make sure that you continue to use the critical thinking skills that we all have. So,
Absolutely.
go
I
ahead.
was say my thought is, and I agree with you, AI makes a great servant and a poor master.
Yes,
I've
yes.
watched The Matrix and I've watched Terminator, so I know.
You're like, "Aha, well, that and other movies that are out there, like, okay, be careful."
Uh-huh.
But it's interesting, right? Because I do use it in my business, and I think there are some great things, and sometimes I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, this is so good." But it's good driven by the inputs, and so I always like, it didn't come up with that by itself, like, it's driven
No.
by and it's gotten to know you. The tools get to know you, and they get to know what you
Yes.
like. I like projects and different things like that to be able to help guide it and,
Yeah.
keep things organized, but anywho, it still is you driving it. That's my point. So, as
Yeah,
long
yeah,
as we
yeah.
continue to drive it, I think it'll be
Right.
fine.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine your AI starts to say, "Hey, Otis, I want you to go run there and get this for me, get that for me." You're like,
Mhm.
"Excuse me?"
Yeah, then you're like, off. You were
Yeah,
going
right?
off. Turn you off.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah, and there's tons of people. I'm, a part of an organization that, we were talking about some advocacy
mhm,
around
mhm,
AI and
mhm.
tools and, there's a long way to go. There's
Yes.
not legislation to protect all the things that we're talking about yet.
Mm, mm,
They're evolving and people are putting forth new bills and things like that all the time to help
mhm.
bring about consumer protections to help us with it. So it's fun, it's great, and you can have a lot of fun with it, but you do want those consumer protections to make sure
You do.
that what you put into it is used for how you intended it to be used, as
Yes.
well as is protected.
100% agreed. 100.
All right, I have another question for you.
Okay.
Based on
Ready.
what you live through and
Yeah.
what you see with your own clients, what
Mhm.
do small business owners consistently get wrong about technology? And this could be all technology because I know when people were talking about putting things in the cloud, it was so elusive that people were like, what?
Really?
What do you mean? You put it in the cloud. And now it's a very normal thing
Mhm,
for us. But
mhm,
I
mhm.
remember when it first happened at
Yeah.
a company that I worked with, they were the internet dial up times, right?
Mhm.
This is 25, 26 years ago.
Mhm.
And you were getting the internet access on a floppy disk, on a
Oh,
disk
yeah,
that
yeah,
you would
yeah, yeah. I
put
remember
into your
those.
computer, right? Make sure your phone line was connected, and then
Netscape
you could
Navigator.
yeah, then you could get the internet was called Net Zero. And so
Mhm.
I
There we go.
remember how way back when working there, it was so far-fetched to people that you could
Yeah.
actually receive this technology in this
Connect.
way. So now that we're here, right? What do you think? We've gone through a lot of chapters
Mm,
of progression of
mhm.
technology, and you've been, around for 20
Couple
or
decade
5
yeah,
a
20
couple of
plus.
decades. So tell me
Mhm.
what you think people get wrong about technology.
I think they think technology is just supposed to always work all the time. And
Says the
as
IT guy.
yes, that's the IT in me. There's a joke that goes something like this. I'm sure you probably heard of it. The person doesn't know how to use a computer. The IT guys are like, "Oh, have you tried this? I tried it." He's like, "Yeah, I tried. Nothing works." And he said, "Is it on?" And the guy says, "Oh, how do I know?" And he's like, "Is there lights on it?" No. And he pushes the button and then turns it on. He's like, "Oh, okay,
Like
thank you."
magic.
And right, so he says, "You know what? Turn off the computer. Get your boxes that you got the computer with. Put the computer inside of the box and ship it back to where you bought it."
You don't need
And
it.
I'm sorry, maybe this is therapy for me right now with this. I apologize, but maybe this is years of compression and things like that. But I think sometimes we think that technology is like you just
Mm,
push the button and it's one easy button and everything's supposed to work. There's
mhm,
work involved in using technology. There's self-education. There's now some companies, some products make it way easier than others to kind of like you
mhm.
go to Amazon, they just make it
Yeah.
so easy for you to make that purchase, right? There's certain
Mhm,
solutions out there that are very, very helpful. And so if you want to use technology but aren't willing to educate yourself on it as a consumer, it's
mhm.
going to be more challenging than if you're willing to just maybe take that time to open up that instruction manual that we all ignore,
Mhm.
even for our cars. I'm guilty of that. I don't
Yeah.
look at my car's instruction manual, but
Mhm,
if you want to use a tool to really help you, you've got to educate yourself. And I think a lot of times the fear and anxiety around not knowing how to use it, and part of that is not taking the time to educate oneself about it. That's when the frustration or the misunderstanding takes place, or the digital divide between those who are comfortable using it and those who aren't. It's really about how much time do you invest just educating yourself in it rather than when you need it, right? That athlete doesn't start practicing or training the day of the big event. They use
mhm,
it and they get ready in advance. So that preparation slash lead time, rather than just kind of working on it when it's mission critical or when you need it to work, is probably my biggest kind of like advice to anyone wanting to use, especially even AI, right?
yeah,
Get
yeah.
familiar with it. Talk to
Mhm,
consultant, read
mhm,
books, even, hey, prompt the AI and ask you, hey, how can I use you? Show me
mm.
that kind of stuff. So those are the
Yeah,
things that are, yeah,
I love that. So I definitely think that was the initial part was an IT guy's answer.
there we go. Yeah, the frustration came out there. I couldn't help it. It was like, just
But
pack up
but
that
you
computer,
you
send it
reeled
back.
it you reeled it in and you got
Yes,
to it.
yes. Okay.
You
It
did
was
reel it in.
therapeutic. I apologize. You're not my
That's
therapist.
okay.
You are, yeah, yes.
I'm sure like there's not enough, I don't know, rocks or sand or what do you call it, granules of sand to count how many times people have actually done that in the world of IT. So we
Right.
apologize because I'm
It's
I'm sure
okay.
I've
It's
been one of
okay.
those like,
It's
where's
okay.
the button?
Right.
I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
find the button.
Is it on? Oh, I didn't know I had to turn it
Yes,
on.
yes. But okay, so a couple of things that you said, because I
Mhm,
do think when in our current state of technology, and I am
mhm,
saying this even to like, I want my mom to understand AI, the
mhm.
basics, right? I just
Yes.
want her to be aware. It's not that I need her to go out and use it and become a super user. That's not really it. It's
Mhm.
relevancy to understand, like, this is what's going on in the world. And I want you to be understanding and also sharing with, people that you've been using AI in your life. Maybe you didn't think about it in that way, but it really is not
Yeah,
brand new. You were
yeah,
using it for a while, but most people don't associate the two together,
right,
right? They go, no, these new 5, 10, 20 companies that are out here, that's all brand
right.
new. But it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it was actually in your car, in your
Mhm.
home, at
Got
the
it.
restaurant, with the bank, at the grocery store. It was
Mhm.
already in your everyday life, and you weren't really thinking of it in that way. And they weren't
Agreed.
commercially, let's just say, marketing it in that way as they are now. Right.
Mhm.
And so when I think about the thing that people get wrong is it's not seeking out some of that help that you talked about. It's like, definitely, if you are a small business, get some help, get someone to come
Absolutely.
in, evaluate a few things for you, and at least take a moment to just assess where you are and then where this technology could be used to further your vision, your mission toward the next level in your business. Like, it's important. And I think with everyday users, so many different things that you used to have to do that took a long time. And some people, they're not going to change. They don't want to change. And that's okay too.
Mhm.
It's not a forced thing, but it
Yes.
is an awareness thing, right? I think that you should all be aware,
Mhm.
not even if you choose to partake or not, it's up to you. But I
Agreed.
do want you to be aware of what it is and the power behind it, because similar to other things that have happened in the technology era, you have kind of had to adapt, excuse me, in some kind of way. And I don't want you to be the last one to adapt to it, where you're
Yeah.
so far behind that you're
Mhm.
like, oh, everybody's ahead of me. And it's like, no, there's some information out there. There's good workshops that
Yeah.
are
Yeah, and I know
available
you've
for.
been to a few you've spoken at a few workshops I've seen recently as well too, Otis. I see you out there doing
I
your
well,
thing.
I it's
Uh-huh.
my little way, it's my
Uh-huh.
little way for, and
Mhm.
it's I know my lane. So I stay in the lane of business, which
Yeah.
is where I help my family, but I stay in the lane of business when it comes to, like, I do see the efficiencies. I do see it unburdening,
Mhm.
a lot of
Yes.
my clients with
Mhm.
some of the work that they do, and that is important to me to, like, at least expose them to that. We can decide whether or not it's the right, for the
Yeah.
moment, but I do want you to understand that there is another way that you can do this, and you
Absolutely.
can maybe sometimes have a little less hands-on
Mm.
approach to it. So, I think
Yeah,
we're on the same page with
absolutely.
the self-educating, and is definitely what people get wrong, and
Mhm.
fingers
Yeah,
crossed, we're gonna do better this time.
I think so.
This is the technology. This is the one. Okay. Another question for you. So what does the next chapter of Cloud 77 look like, and how does AI fit into it, where you're taking the company? So we talked a lot about
Mm.
where you're going, and kind of how I entered into
Mhm.
the picture. But tell everyone a little bit, because I think this is inspiring for other entrepreneurs, not just
Mm.
ones that are the same type of business that you have, but like I said before, you've been in business for 16 years. I think there's a lot of lessons that you have learned, and you've worked with a lot of people. And I think that there's something to garner from that that can help a lot of people.
Thank you, Otis. I appreciate that. Well, I'm of the again, I was trying to engage a little bit of philosophy into it, and so internally, what we're looking to do is use the AI to introduce, maximize, streamline our operations. Hence, we needed your help. Still need some more of your help. And so, one of the things that we want to do is get all of our little, as my old partners to say, get our little duckies in a row, get them together, get them
Mhm,
all neatly filed up and organized, and then go out there and strategically move forward. So we're ready to scale and grow. Part of the reason in my own company, we've been very intentional about being ready before we present ourselves to the next level of customer. When I was working with a certain type of customer for a certain period of time, it was okay to kind of, it was, just me and a few other people. Now, as we've
mhm.
amassed a bigger collective, it's now how do we prepare ourselves for that next level of clientele? How do we prepare ourselves for more scaling, for more growth? You hear the story of the people who Oprah just kind of mentions their name on her book club, and then they get calls and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know, like we can't handle it, type of things.
Mhm.
Bringing in people like yourself, leveraging AI, making sure our systems and documentation and even the guidelines that you've given us to help us to
Mhm.
get ourselves set up. And then once we're confident that we're ready for that next level and we have a system, not just for today, but moving forward to grow internally, we're ready
Mhm.
for that. And then externally, as we kind of go into the marketplace, leveraging more AI in the marketplace
Right.
to create more content as well too. Obviously, I think it should be a mixture of personal and agentic or AI generated images and content and
Oh, yeah.
material. You got to bring a little bit of yourself to it, but still definitely make sure that, you're maximizing your reach and your productivity and your volume. Those are, one or two of the spaces. Things like agents and bots on the website so that you
Mhm.
communicate with the customers as well too. You can provide 24/7 support. We haven't done it yet for ourselves, but reached out to somebody and they had their AI help desk answer the phone, but it was
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
good. Kind of like communicate and say, hey, yeah, you know what? They want this and this for this project. Is there anything else
Yeah.
that you like? I'm like, yeah, okay. So it got the message, it relayed the communication. So we're pretty
Yeah.
clear on that. The
Yep.
next piece, it's just kind of like, so adding it module by module where we can see the maximized efficiency without doing damage,
Yep.
internally or to our customers. So kind of treading on solid ground with each step
Yeah.
is kind of how we want to do it. So for our customers, now kind of as we go inside out, so to speak, for
Mhm.
our customers, the very things that we've done internally is hold their hand, show them, here are your options. If there's gaps in their understanding in terms of knowledge or exposure, we kind of hopefully give them a comprehensive understanding of what it is that they're using, how they can use it, and then
Mhm.
systematically looking at where are their technical processes and how can we insert ourselves? What kind of tools can we add to the mix that will help them be able to be more productive from the tools perspective to ensure that they're able to grow and scale,
Mhm.
leverage the technology in the
Mhm.
same.
Mhm. Yeah. I love that. And all of those things, I think this is why I wanted you to go into that, are the things that I think every business should be looking at, right? It's like,
Absolutely.
okay, doing it in this very methodical way, as you tackle these different things, right? If you want to scale, like, okay, like let's not scale more problems, but let's actually fix that foundation, any cracks. And not that they're all problems, but they're just maybe are not running efficiently and serving you or the
You got
organization
it.
very well.
You
And
got
if
it.
they're not, let's address them. Let's bring in help to help us address them so that as you prepare for this continual rise in your company, we're ready for it. We're
Absolutely.
positioned for it, not only out there in the market, but our
Mhm.
internal operations are
Mhm.
strong and
Yes.
can support having, more customers. So if you double your customers from 5 to 10, you're like, I'm ready. I'm ready. We have some that's busy, but I'm
That's
ready,
yeah, when he's gambling like, "Otissa, we should have called you last week like you told us to, but we didn't call you, so can you come help us?"
Yes,
You
but
know?
that's a good, I wouldn't say that's a problem, but that's a good thing, a good
Mhm.
situation to
Yeah.
have, right?
Yeah.
That is what you want, is that for all of these pieces to start to work together to
Mhm.
actually move things forward. And so, I mean,
Absolutely.
you talked about a lot of different things, and I think every business in general has to contend with it, right? You have to contend with how you're bringing revenue into the company. Are you targeting the right person, or buyer for your product or service? Like, are you, continuing to understand them, what they need, how they need it, when they need it, where are they, all these different things, and then packaging like your service for them. Like, okay, now how do I make sure that I am the chosen service that they select, as well as adding all this value that you need into their world so that they will want to select you. All of those different things kind of playing hand in hand. And then in the internal piece, being able to handle it, right? So once the volume starts to increase, it's like, oh my goodness, we have a great journey for the customer to go on. Not only did we appeal to them before they were our customers, now that they are our customers, we're going to delight them even more and make them really excited about what we do and working with us. So I think it's something that it's universal, it's global. Like, it doesn't really have any boundaries when it comes to that part of business and the basics, right? And I think that you and the team for focusing on the basics is the right move, right? It's like, okay, let us focus on the basics and move these things forward, because then you're positioned to grow, right? The opportunities will come when you kind of clear the dust a little bit and go, okay, you got some
Yeah.
refinement here and we're ready to go. So, anywho, any final thoughts as we get to the final moments of this interview.
Yeah, thank you, Otissa. One, thank you for the interview. Thank you for the opportunity to have dialogue with you. I'm having fun. I've had fun. You are one of, again, I have to give it to you so everyone knows and hears it from an actual customer. Otissa is on top of her game and she produces results quickly and efficiently and effectively. So for
Appreciate
all
that.
of those people, you're on the fence, you can jump on, you can jump off the fence and
You
go run
heard
with
what
it.
Adrian said.
Yeah, so go do it. Just go do it. All right. So that's
You're like, "Well, give me a minute."
all right. And then in terms of like just from the interview's sake, from the interview's perspective, as far as our conversation, it's as much as, we think about growth and strategy and everything. It's good every once in a while to pause, take that breath of fresh air, strategize, even if you do it with a group, come back, get a tissue on speed dial,
Yeah.
and then say, okay, I've thought about it. This
Mhm.
is what I want to do. This is what I move. This is how I want to move next. Because I think for the entrepreneurs, we get one, I think for the most part, we love what we do. And two,
Mhm.
we love the challenges that come with it. And then it in and of itself can be just a natural gratification or natural high, so to speak. And
Mhm.
so for us, so many people experience burnout. If we can
Mhm.
rest, pause, and use that time to then think about the business. A mentor of mine would often drive up to San Luis Obispo for a weekend and just kind of clear his head, think about what to do next and come
Mhm.
back in and then implement those strategies. And I think even when it comes to AI, scaling, technology, all business, take a breather, figure out what to do next, go to your trusted advisors
Mhm.
and then move forward.
I love that. I love it. Great way to close out the moment. Thank you so much, Adrian.
Focus
And
on.
thank you for the team. Again, thank you for allowing me to, be in your world at Cloud 77 and help you guys out. I really appreciate it. And so thank you. Without that, we'll go ahead and I guess close out and say thank you. I've said thank you 5 times. I'll probably edit that. But
Do
I
it all
do
the
want
time.
to
Do it all the time.
but it's good that you can add it. But
Mhm.
anywho, I really do appreciate just the moments and the
Yeah,
conversation. And I think
thank
so
you.
many different great gems, realistic, boots on the ground, working in your business, on your business, position to grow, position, to scale and doing it right. So applaud you and the team. So
Thank you.
thank you.
You as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for this.